So I know a thing or two about graduations. In our house, we've had high school graduations, college graduations, and even last week an 8th grade graduation. But if you have a high school senior right now, you know that the air in your house feels a little bit different this time around. You know, some people call this month Maycember now because May is just as busy as December with all of the activities and celebrations and things. But this feeling might be just a little bit bittersweet. You know, there's a lot of nostalgia, tons of excitement. You're so proud of them, but if you're honest, you might be running a little bit low when it comes to emotional bandwidth. You know, everyone talks about everything you need for your dorm room, but nobody tells you how to pack up 18 years of daily proximity and pivot to a completely new way of loving them from a distance. So today I want to talk about how you create that connection. We're not talking about logistics. I want to talk about the emotional architecture that you need in place to love from a distance your kid that's about to take on the world. There's one thing that I have felt, and I've seen it in friends and family as you start in this new stage of your role as a parent. And it's thinking that once, you know, our kids are 18 and they're going off to school or whatever's next, that our job as parents is over. Or it can also be tempting to try to keep control of things, but from afar. You know, I get it because for 18 years you've managed schedules, meals, safety. You know, you've kept track of who's supposed to be where and do you have what you need. But the truth is that if you stay in that mindset and like the role of a manager, then your long distance communication is going to become a checklist of things like, did you do your laundry? Have you done your homework yet? Did you go talk to your professor about this new assignment? And guess what? Nobody likes that. It can create distance. You know, if you think about coaches, like of professional teams, whatever sport you like, football, basketball, you know, they don't run on the field during the game. The coaches watch the players. They listen, they pay attention to what's going on, and they offer strategy, you know, at the appropriate time, either because somebody's asked or because they see such a big thing going on, they have to step in and say, hey, have you thought about this or try that? So I'm going to propose that, you know, us parents of young adults, we take a similar tack. So, for example, what might that look like? If, you know that something is going on with your son or daughter, instead of calling and saying, did you fix that yet? How about calling and saying, so what's your gut saying? What do you think is the best approach in this situation? Because you're still having the conversation, you're still there to support, you're still there to offer advice if it's appropriate for you to offer advice, but you're really asking them to take the lead. And you're giving them that autonomy that they really need to grow, that they need to grow, and that as they get older, they will also hopefully grow into, right? Isn't that the whole goal? That they don't need you to be calling and asking all the time? So we can start practicing that now in these early situations. So another thing I want to talk about is this concept of an anchor or a tether. So what do I mean by that? I mean that your young adult, your high school graduate, they are probably really ready to take on the world. But you know what helps them really fly high and really feel like they can do that? Knowing that they have a solid home base to come back to. So, you know, here's where I bring up this idea of an anchor or a tether. So if you think of like a tether, in my mind, I often think of like a leash. It's something that pulls somebody back, even your dog when you're walking them. They, it's a pullback. Maybe it's you don't have time for me. It's, somebody feeling guilty for being busy, or a lot of demands, constant contact, lots of check-ins, lots of how are things going. But if that's not wanted, then that can create friction. That may not be what your son or daughter is looking for. An anchor, on the other hand, is there. It is steady, it doesn't go anywhere, it's immovable, and it creates a sense of security where they don't have to check in every hour to make sure the anchor is still there. They know the anchor is there. So they've got the safety of knowing that they're not adrift. They're not going to get pulled away into every storm, but they can still go out and explore and do and come back home. It's a little bit like I've talked a few times about the Harvard study on adult development, the longest study on happiness ever conducted, and how one of the key factors for emotional well-being is knowing that you have someone to go to in a crisis, knowing you've got somebody to rely on. Well, this is the same concept. They will actually, our young adults will do better taking on the world as long as they know that they have a home base that they can go back to, that you are there. So how do we bring this to life? So some examples might be, some low pressure communication rhythms, establishing those early. So maybe it's like I don't have to talk to you every day, or I don't have to talk to you every day, but like on Sunday night, that's our time to catch up no matter what. So it helps create some expectations. Sunday night could be anytime, whenever it is. It creates some expectations, allows both of you to plan, but it also then doesn't become like a constant, I've got to let mom know what's going on. I mean, great if they want to. My kids didn't ever really want to, but you know what? Everybody's different. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the gift of like a real live blessing. What do I mean by that? I mean giving spoken, explicit permission from you as the parent or the grandparent or the caregiver to go out and do take on the world, like succeed, fail, it's all good. In both scenarios, they grow, and that's what you really want them to do. So sometimes and I'm the worst at this, I assume that people know what I'm thinking or feeling. But you know what? We can't assume. And so we have to actually tell them, I am proud of the person you are becoming. I trust who you are growing into. I'm excited to see what you are going to do with your life. So by sharing that, you are giving them such a boost of confidence, but also you're once again creating that foundation that they can keep going back to while they go out and explore. So how do we actually do that? What does that look like? Well, I like handwritten letters. I gotta say, a handwritten letter or a dedicated book, a personal inscription, something tangible that they can pull out and read in a quiet dorm room when they're feeling homesick, something that doesn't get lost in a thread of text messages that goes on forever and ever, something that they can put in a drawer or under their bed, and on those days that they need that extra boost, it's right there. If your heart is a little heavy this week, just take a deep breath. That ache you're feeling isn't a sign that things are broken. It's proof that something beautiful is happening. You aren't losing them. Your connection is changing shape. Your relationship is evolving. And at the end of the day, is exactly what we want to have happen. We want these kids to grow and go on to do amazing things. Now, if you're navigating this transition right now, drop a comment below and let me know the one word that describes how you're feeling this week. Let's support each other in these comments. And I get it, it's bittersweet. When you drop them off at school or you see them drive away, it is like a piece of your heart goes with them. It stays there and you're over here. Now, if you need a beautiful, tangible way to give that graduate the blessing before they head out, check the link in the description for a free copy of an I Love You book for people about to take on the world. I'm giving them away just for this special season of graduation, and I'd be happy for you to check it out. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, everybody.